Mr. Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, Carleton and Carleton graduates, it is my great pleasure that I speak to you as a member of our great university in honoring Dr. Ian Hacking. I also stand before you to share a personal experience as a former student of Professor Hacking. I first met Professor Hacking in 1995 when I was admitted into the University of Toronto's graduate philosophy program. I wrote my first graduate essay in which I explored ethical and political implications of academic-based scientific research in the context of Cold War militarism for Professor Hacking in his graduate seminar in the philosophy of science. This was a very challenging task for me. I came from a small university with no graduate program, but now I was studying with MA and PhD students in the biggest philosophy department in the West, and I was studying with leading professors like Dr. Hacking. Everything was in a grand scale in my mind, and I thought I might not meet this supreme task. But Professor Hacking helped ease my concerns. I vividly remember our first face-to-face meeting at a restaurant in Toronto that served Malaysian food. Dr. Hacking could see that I was nervous, and he did not ask me questions at first. Instead, he started talking about his childhood in Vancouver and his days as a teacher in Makerere University College in Uganda. This initial meeting gave me a window into who Hacking is beyond his public identity as a leading professor of philosophy. Professor Hacking sat down with me several more times to help me formulate and concretize my ideas. As a result of these meetings, I wrote an essay entitled Coming In From the Cold, Science and Technology After the Cold War, and I was happy to see he was pleased with my effort. I believe Dr. Hacking's initial intervention and dedicated guidance of my first graduate seminar helped to shape my future success of completing my master's degree in philosophy and my PhD in sociology at the University of Toronto. To this day, Dr. Hacking remains to be one of my most trusted mentors. I believe his support and mentorship played a critical role as to why I am here today as a professor of sociology at Carleton University. I feel deeply touched that today my university is honoring my dear teacher and mentor, Dr. Ian Hacking. Mr. Chancellor, in recognition of outstanding contribution to scholarship and public intellectual life, I request that you confer the degree of Doctor of Laws honors causes upon Ian Hacking.
By virtue of my authority, I confer upon you this degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chancellor, Madam President and Vice Chancellor, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair of the Board, Amina Mire, fellow graduates, and family and friends, I am, of course, honored to be here. I think it may not be completely obvious to all of you that Professor Amina Mire is a very tough cookie. When I was a freshman, there was a silly joke going around artsy-craftsy people, which ran like this: what would you do if you were alone on a dark alley and saw Lucretia Borgia coming towards you? My answer now would be something like, call in Amina Mire. And maybe, for backup, with different skills, I might call in our new Chancellor Chi. I think it's a particular pleasure for me, who have had the privilege of having parents, grandparents, and in some cases, goodness knows how many generations back, growing up and living in Canada in my case, not exactly prosperity, but never serious hardship. that my introducer and our chancellor come from parts of the world as different from those of mine as it's possible to be, and indeed from parts as different from each other as it's possible to be. But we should also, in our moments of self-congratulation at how lucky we have been in the relative newcomers to our country, also remember that it's not a bowl of cherries. It's often very, very hard. We have a particularly grim reminder. This is a happy occasion, but we should, as Rudyard Kipling once said, lest we forget that the two gruesome murders which attracted everything from Twitter to the high international press in Toronto last week, one was of a fellow countryman of Amina Mire's, and another, a newcomer from the land from which Chancellor Xi came. Both murdered brutally and ruthlessly in terrible circumstances, a reminder that it's often very, very hard to live in this blessed country. I am supposed to give you some words of wisdom, and in a way, I can't do better than the introductory invocation. Always remember everybody else and treat them as you would like to be treated. The only word of wisdom I would like to say is, first of all, that the list of subjects from which our graduates today come is a testament to what a university should be. It includes a number of programs and departments I had never even heard of at any university, and it includes more usual ones. I am impressed by the simple range, and I know that this is only one pulling forth of many other subjects and faculties. I think it's important that you should all talk to each other and not just get compartmentalized. It is one of the vices of the modern academic system that people get stowed in departments. Now, I think that's very good for one reason. It disciplines people, teaches you how to do something very well. But it also tends to encourage people not to talk to each other. And I think the one thing that has helped me throughout my life is that although I am a very shy and introverted person, in high school I was called a pill, in words whose horror probably rings nothing except on the oldest members of the family audience. But I gradually came to realize that it was possible to ask other people things. And now I have found that I can go up to anybody who is a scientist or expert in anything, as long as I do my homework first, find out what she or he does, learn about it, and then start asking serious questions, and they just love to talk to you, because it doesn't happen very often. Try it yourself. When you're curious about something, and please stay curious, when you're curious about something, try to make a date with a stranger expert and ask them what interests you. With those words, I leave you to the happiness of your families and friends, and I know you want to be with them and not sitting here. Thank you.